Hello and welcome to the Today's Homeowner Weekly Podcast. We're here to help you with the challenges we all face as homeowners. I'm Danny Lifford.
And I'm Joe Truini. And each week, Danny and I are here on the podcast to answer any and all home improvement questions.
And we want to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments at todayshomeowner.com/podcast.
Okay, Danny, let's get started.
Today's Homeowner Podcast is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. This week, we'll give you a few ideas if you have a spot in your house that's a little dark, maybe a closet or a pantry, and you want to get a nice LED light in there. It's easier than you might think. We'll give you some tips on that, even installing one that automatically turns on when you open the door. Also, we want to explore when it is too cold to paint outside. That's extremely important for a good quality, long-lasting job. We'll give you the parameters on that in just a minute. Also, one of the noisiest things around a home can be a garage door opening and closing, but boy, you can quieten it down in about 5 minutes and about $5. We'll tell you what you need to do there. Also, have you ever heard of quilted blinds? Great idea in being able to insulate your home to block out the sun coming in that might, cause quite a bit of a heat buildup, and also keep it a little bit cozier during the winter. But they do get dirty. What can you do to clean them? We've got the tips for that. And, of course, Joe has a great simple solution for us.
This week, Danny, it's how to hang a picture exactly where you need it. Too often people will hang it, they'll drive in a nail, they'll stand back, and it's like, oh, it's too high, it's too low. You wind up making 3 or 4 holes before you get the picture exactly where you want it. Well, I have a simple solution. It only takes a few seconds, and it gets hung exactly where you need it each and every time.
It is so easy. I've used that exact technique. I guarantee you that it works. Okay, let's get started. Author's on the phone from Wisconsin. Author, welcome to the show.
How are you today?
Hey, we're doing great. Looks like you're exploring adding a little light in your house.
Well, yeah, I've got a closet, a couple of closets actually. One, a long closet in my my bedroom, master bedroom. They put in these standard entry doors that are 30 inches wide, and so it stays pretty dark in there when you're trying to, to find the things that you wish to get into. So we use flashlights right now, and I have a pantry closet that has the same issue. It's 24 by 24 in the depth of the. So I was thinking about putting in some 24-inch bar lights over the door. How do I put this? The pantry closet has one door, of course, and then there's 2 entry doors like that in my bedroom, and I'm thinking about the 2 24-inch door lights over that. I was thinking LEDs to keep down the heat because of the clothing and stuff, and I thought. At one time, I saw on one of your programs that you did one where when you opened the door, the light came on. I thought, boy, that would really be cool.
Yeah, sure. Well, those are certainly available and not that expensive. They're the one you saw us use on the television show was from Leviton, and you can order those right online very easily. You could just put in Leviton motion censored lights, and you'll see a variety of those. And now, your house and the space above the closets, is it a single-story house that you would have access to that attic?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no.
Okay.
The house is only 13 years old.
Okay, and, good.
So it's there's a lot of a friend of mine told me one time there's things I'd like to change to it, even though it was brand new or fairly new. And he says, well, that's what it's like. He says it's like you're a bird, so now you're going to arrange the nest to suit you.
That's right. That's the way every house is. Even a brand new house definitely has that. Well, if you have access to the attic and you can, get power up there, then one of the advantages of having the motion censored type light is that you don't have to worry about a switch, because a lot of times that can be a challenge in fishing that wire down in the wall, and you can just do the motion sensing light and you're done. And I'll tell you, they provide you a lot of light. You might even find that it works even better if you just go ahead and install it on the ceiling, but just bring it forward toward the door a little bit so that it's providing the light down there. And I think it's a great way to go. And in some situations, there are some pretty good lights that are battery powered that basically just stick to the ceiling or stick to the wall. And because it being LED, those batteries will last a good long time. But that's another way to go. And a lot of the motion sensor lights will be more round in in shape versus something like an elongated, even though there are LEDs that, are 2 foot long like that. But you'll be able to see, and they're very easy to install. And Joe, another great place for something like that is the attic space, going up into the attic. I've seen a lot of people doing that for attic storage.
Yeah, Arthur, I think the motion sensor is the way to go. They still make a light switch that was very popular with closets that are called hardwired in-jam light switch. You may have seen them where the switch actually gets put on the side jamb on the hinge side of the door, and there's a little button that pops out, and when you close the door, it presses the button in and turns off the light. When you open the door, it automatically pops out.
Like your refrigerator.
Like your refrigerator, exactly. There's a company called Morris Products that makes one. It's about $19, but that does require hard wiring and then getting a separate light fixture. And LEDs is probably all you're going to find anyway. Incandescents are getting harder to find. But I think a battery-powered motion sensor LED, there are ones that are 16 inches long, and they have a rechargeable battery, so you don't have to keep replacing AA's. And they're about $25, 16 inches long. You just stick them up, and that's it. That would probably be fine for the pantry. You might need a couple of them for the closet, for the bedroom closet. But
and who makes those?
I'm not sure. I think there are a few different companies that make them. If you Google battery-powered motion sensor LED lights, and these are strip lights, they're 16 inches long, so they put out a lot of light.
Well, yeah, I understand that. I actually have a rechargeable. It's a flashlight that my family got for me, but it's got for working on cars and stuff, and it's actually hanging in the closet.
Right.
So we just turn that on, and it's I don't know, 12 inches long, I suppose, but it puts off an awful lot of light.
They should have gotten you one of those miner's helmets for Christmas. You
need a headlamp, Arthur.
I have one of those, actually, believe it or not.
Just wear it all the time. Wear it all day long. That way when you walk in, you just flip it on. You'll be surprised.
Where's Arthur? There he is.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
That's convenient.
I have a hunting cap like that. There's lights on the brim.
There you go. There you
for
go.
hunting, and so I could do the same thing with that as well.
That's right. Hunting things in the pantry. That's gathering food for your family. That is great. So.
Well, you're outside gathering, and you might as well. It's the same thing. So
exactly. Well, Arthur, we certainly appreciate you being a part of the show today, and I hope we've been able to give you something that you can use. If we can help you in the future, you know where to find us.
All right. Thank you very much, Danny.
Okay. All right. Our pleasure. All right. Take care. Hinge switches is when you're doing new construction, you really should consider that in closets. Every one of my closets in my new house has the hinge switch, and also the pantry. Because, any place that you're bringing clothes in or you're, bringing food in or whatever, it's so convenient. Just, a door like that, and the laundry room, instead of leaving the laundry room open all the time, then we always leave it closed so the light goes off. So that works out really, really well. We love to get emails at todayshomeowner.com/ask. That's exactly what Jim did in Virginia. And Jim had a question here. I want to paint the exterior of my workshop, but I hear a lot of different opinions about what temperature is too low to apply paint. Your thoughts? And this is one we've gotten quite a bit, Joe, but it's really important because, different areas of the country, of course, right now are experiencing different temperatures. But as a general rule, what would you say if you're painting the exterior, like Jim's doing here, trying to paint the exterior of his workshop? What would you say would be that threshold? And then that threshold of low temperature, but then there's also an important thing about maintaining that temperature. What's your thoughts on that?
That's right. Yeah, and you're right. We get this question usually this time of year, every year, right, as the weather starts to turn cold. A general rule of thumb, Jim, is that latex paint, and I assume you're using latex, is best applied between 50 and 85%. Now, you should read the label on the can because some manufacturers formulate it a little differently, but typically 50 to 85. But what Danny was referring to is if you're painting and it's 50 degrees, you're like, oh, that's fine, or it's 52 degrees, so I'm safe to paint. Well, it's got to remain 50 degrees for, depending on the paint, like at least 4 or 5 hours, because if you paint in 50 degrees and an hour later it's 45 degrees, then what, So check the label. Typically it's 50 to 85 degrees. For anyone who's still using oil-based paint, you have a little broader window. It's usually 40 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's because, obviously, it doesn't contain water. It contains oil, and oil isn't going to react as negatively as water will. The oil will flow better in the colder weather.
Yeah, very important. It's like we always talk about. If you're going to work hard on a project, if you're going to spend the money on those materials and buy good quality materials, you don't want something like temperature or high humidity or any other factor to affect the success of that particular project. That's why you want to kind of check a little bit, do a little bit of homework, a little bit of planning to make sure you're doing it at the right time. Andy is on with us from Mississippi. You have a question about that very thing. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are y'all?
We're great, thank you.
Great. Glad to have you on board. Hope your holidays were very, very good.
Yes, thank you. They were.
Okay, so tell us about your question on the garage door.
I have a very noisy garage door, and I know I need to do something to grease it up, lubricate all the working parts of it, but I'm not sure where to apply the actual grease product.
Okay. All right. Well, number one, what you want to use is a white lithium grease. That's the most important, and it's available in spray cans, so pretty easy from that standpoint. You may want to kind of put just, you can't help but drip it on the floor a little bit, so you may want to put just some little drop cloths down or something, cardboard or something down where you're going to spray it. And what I like to do is close that garage door and then open and close it and really look closely at the travel, how it travels up the channel, and just to see if it binds in any way. And you also, it's well worth it, doesn't take long, to take a socket set and just tighten up any of those screws that you see, especially those mounting to the wall or to the ceiling, and just double check to make sure things aren't a problem there. But Joe, I know that you recommend do not necessarily concentrate that grease in the tracks itself.
Exactly. Yeah, Andy, that's a mistake a lot of people make is they spray or oil, some kind of grease, or they put grease in the tracks themselves. And you never want to put any kind of lubrication on the tracks because the door could possibly slip. And just like any other time you're lubricating anything, you want to lubricate the moving parts. The track doesn't move, right? So you don't. So on a garage door, there are basically three areas you want to apply that grease to. The rollers that roll in the track, right? So at the end of each panel of the door, you'll have rollers. So you want to grease up those. You want to grease up if you have a torsion spring. Do you have a spring that goes horizontally across the top of the door?
Yes.
Okay. Well, at the ends of those, inside that spring, there's a long steel round bar, and the ends of that bar passes through bearings, round bearings. So which helps it spin, of course. So you want to grease those bearings. You don't have to grease the spring itself, but the bearings on each end of the spring. Then finally, the door hinges, right? Okay. So each hinge, you want to grease. And as Danny said, you get the lithium grease, the white lithium grease in a spray can, a little squirt, let it go up and down. You do that once a year. That's probably all you need to do it. Now, you also have to make sure that any bolts or nuts or screws are tightened because, this thing's going up and down, up and down. Movement, will loosen up almost any fastener. So you might want to just, with a nut driver, a screwdriver, a wrench, whatever, just tighten up, just check and make sure everything's tight. Okay.
I think that might be a project I could handle.
Do you have two doors or one?
Just one.
Okay, good.
It's
one large one. Right. Yeah.
And you'll really be surprised at how much quieter it is. It really is. And if you do this a couple times a year, it's going to make that whole everything work a lot better and last a lot longer. So that's a win-win all the way.
Yes, I agree. All right. Well, thank y'all for your help.
You can go around the neighborhood, Andy, and quiet everybody else's door.
That's right. You get everybody else quieting down.
That's right. That's my good deed for the new year.
Exactly. Right. Andy, thanks so much for being with us, and I do hope you have a great new year.
Y'all too. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Time for our Best New Product segment brought to you by the Home Depot, where doers get more done. Most homeowners don't have a space to store 3 or 4 different ladders, so it's important to choose one that does several jobs. It's also important to choose one that's very easy to use. That's why Werner has introduced their new 22-foot 5-in-1 multi-position ladder. It's the lightest multi-position ladder with a 375-pound rating, which is almost 10% lighter than the previous version. Now, it also includes 32 adjustable positions, which will allow you to do more jobs quickly easily and safely without the need of any additional purchases for any of the 5 positions this ladder offers. Those positions are like the extension ladder or double-sided twin step ladder, stairway ladder, wall ladder, and 2 self-supporting scaffolding braces. And with this weight rating, it's useful for 1 or 2 persons that are occupying the ladder and maybe, holding something up and working together. So for more information on this Warner 22-foot 5-in-1 multi-position ladder, log on to homedepot.com. Mary is joining us from Illinois. Mary, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, guys. I love your show.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that. We have a lot of fun putting everything together. And what's happening around your house with these blinds? Tell us about it.
Okay. Well, we have they're window quilts. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. It's a branded name. You can only get them, I think, out of Vermont. Mm-hmm. Because I've tried to find people in my area that carry these or that work on these, and there's just really nobody around here, not around Illinois. Mm-hmm. But they're fantastic blinds. They completely seal the windows, and we even have them over our doors. When our house was built, it was built as a passive solar house.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so they put these window quilts in, and we don't even have a furnace.
Wow.
We have a wood burner, and we use these quilted blinds to keep the cold out and let the sun in the winter. And it reflects down on a terracotta tile,
right,
which also reflects onto a brick wall where our wood burner is. So we have cheated over the years. We've been here 30-something years. And so we bought a few electric
space heaters?
Baseboard heat, yeah.
Yeah, right.
because we're getting older and cutting wood is just not our thing. But anyway, back to the blinds. They've got water stains on them, and they're quilted. They're like 5 layers quilted material, and I just don't know how I would go about cleaning them.
All right. Well, Mary, I live in Connecticut, and I am just south, not that far south of Brattleboro, Vermont, which is in southern Vermont, and that's where Window Quilts is located. And I'm happy to report that company's still in business, still making custom quilted blinds. And if anyone's not familiar with them, you should check them out online because, first, they're great products, as you know, but they do an amazing job at blocking cold air from the source, which is windows and doors, right, where cold air usually blows in. But if they're stained or dirty, there are 2 basic ways to clean quilted blinds. One is to leave them in place, and one is to take them down. So if you take them down, what you have to do is soak them in a tub or some large container of warm water mixed with a combination of oxygen bleach and woolite. Not chlorine bleach, oxygen bleach, which typically comes in a powder. Oxygen bleach cleans a lot better, but it won't bleach out any color. So that's if you take them down. You can soak them into warm water with the oxygen bleach and woolite. If you want to leave them up and try cleaning them that way, you can clean them with a rug and upholstery cleaner. Mary?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm writing, actually.
I thought I heard a door open and close. Like, oh boy, Mary just.
Oh, that's my husband.
But if you leave them in place, you can rent one of those rug and upholstery cleaners, look like a vacuum cleaner kind of thing, and you can try cleaning them in place with that. Usually it's more effective, although more work to take them down and soak them. But that, and once you soak them for, I don't know, an hour or whatever, 30, 40 minutes, an hour, then scrub them with a very soft bristle brush. When you got them in the tub, you don't want to damage them all, just a soft nylon bristle brush.
Okay. I don't even know how I'd find a tub this big, though.
I know. You have pretty big blinds, right?
Yeah. It's the whole south side of our house, and most of them are about 8 by 6 foot. So the big windows. Yeah. That's pretty awesome, but...
Yeah. Well, maybe you can do them a little at a time, like dip in, put in a tub like the bottom third or whatever, and scrub it.
You know how we also suggested one time about building that little vat for cleaning screens. You
right,
could do
yeah.
similar here in using 2x6s and turn them up on their edge, and then put plastic down in there, fill that up with hot water, and just basically create a vat by that method, so that you can soak them down in. It doesn't have to be 8x6 because of it being flexible, but you might want it to be 2 foot wide by 6.5 foot long, and then you're able to put 4 or 5 inches of water in there, and that might help speed it up and make it happen for you.
That sounds like a really good idea. Of course, I might have to wait till spring.
It's like a kiddie pool for your blinds.
Yeah, a kiddie pool. That's a good idea,
exactly.
too. Okay.
That sounds like that would take care of it, and probably make them cleaner than you can imagine, because they do get a lot of dust and so forth on them with it being quilted like that. But sounds like a great idea. Sounds like a beautiful house and a good little project.
Well, thanks so much, you guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, anytime, Mary. If you need any other help, let us know.
I sure will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Right now, we want to head to Iowa. Dale is on the phone with an interesting question about the attic. Dale, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Tell us what your what the deal is here with the moisture in your attic, and kind of describe it for us a little bit.
Well, we purchased this house approximately 4 years ago. It's a ranch-style house with a full attic. It's got a full bath on the west end of the attic. It was all enclosed. After we started looking around and stuff, it was a living space, and we started tearing stuff apart because we noticed our roof was leaking. It was leaking around the chimney, and then they had like a accent window on the south roof slope. It was leaking around there. So about a year later, we got it re-roofed and everything, and took out the little square roof vents and stuff, put a ridge cap on it instead. And we still have an insulated area, but moisture keeps collecting on the north slope of the roof. And we wanted to know how we could take care of this problem. Another thing with the roof was that the soffits, they weren't vented. So this summer I put vented soffits in it. I don't know if that helps or not, but we were just up there last week, and there's water dripping everywhere yet.
Oh, boy.
Want to know how we can solve that problem.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. Several things. Soffit vents, definitely you need that fresh air, being introduced into the attic. You just want to make sure that the vent actually is venting the attic space itself. Often insulation will block that, or in some homes there's actually blocking regular framing that goes right on top of the outside wall that will actually prevent the air from circulating up in there. I have no idea why that people do that from time to time, but that could possibly be the case. So you want to make sure that that soffit vent, the soffits, is allowing that air into the main space. Also, on anything else like your range hood or your exhaust fans in the bathroom, if they're going right into the attic, then you're introducing a ton of hot, moist air right in that attic that can definitely cause some condensation issues like that. After that, you want to make sure that the ridge vent that you have there is unobstructed. You need to be able to look up in there and to make sure that the felt paper or anything else is properly done like that. And Joe, I almost wonder in an acute situation like this if a consideration of an exhaust fan might be really necessary.
Yeah, Dale, so you're saying that when you go up in the attic, there's actually water dripping off the roof rafters from the underside of the roof of the plywood sheathing?
Yeah, on the nail. I mean, the frost will form on the nails, and when it gets warm enough, the frost will melt, and it drips off the nails.
Right.
It's more on the north side than the south side, because, the south side gets sun all the time. That's what I'm figuring on that part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it sounds like the ventilation system in this house is not working properly. Danny and I were joking around earlier about how you could take a leaf blower from the outside and blow air up through the soffit vents and blow insulation all over your buddy who's up in the attic. But actually, that might be a good way to find out if air is actually flowing through those vents. I would get someone in the attic, I'd have to make sure they're wearing safety goggles and a dust mask and all that, and get a long stick and just tack like a piece of a cloth on the end of something small, like a handkerchief-sized cloth to the end of the stick, and have him hold it over where that eave is, where those vents are. Have someone outside blow air and move down the entire house and make sure air is blowing between each rafter bay. Make sure air is blowing up in between, because I'm not sure how else I guess you could get some kind of smoke bomb on the outside and see if the smoke's filling up, but it might be easier just with blowing air. You can use a shop vac too. Just put the hose on the blower side instead of the suction side. But anyway, if you have air blowing up through there from the outside, you can test it on the inside, again, with a stick with a rag or something hanging on the end. So if that gets blown up in the air, if the cloth gets blown up in the air, air is passing through. And then, of course, if it's going up, then it's got to be going also through the ridge vent, which is a little harder to test. But if you look up, you should be able to see if you can see the ridge vent from inside. The sheathing has to be cut back at least 2 or 3 inches on each side. I'm not sure why somebody wouldn't have done that before putting on the new ridge vent. Otherwise, air wouldn't be able to go out. But what I'm trying to say is I absolutely identify that the airflow is operating properly, because I suspect that it is not.
Okay, because the floors up there are insulated all the way across too, so that you might have insulation shoved in there too far that the air's not getting through there.
That might be exactly the problem.
Right, that happens quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I noticed when they did finish the roofing, they didn't cut the sheeting away. So I ended up cutting it away with a razor blade, so it was getting air up through there.
Oh.
So
that happens a lot, though. People, they just don't cut that back enough, and you're just, reducing the air going out of that vent, because you got to have that convection of that air coming in and going straight, raising straight up and going out to create that flow that carries the moisture with it. So just check out those soffits really closely, and then as much as you can open up that ridge vent, the better. That should take care of it. And don't forget what I mentioned earlier on making sure all of those exhaust vents are going all the way to the outside.
Okay, sounds good, guys.
Hey, Dale, one last thing is, if it comes to it, you could put in a powered vent on the gable end, right? So it's just up high on the wall on the gable end, and they make them with louvers on the outside, and they just click on and blow air straight out of the attic. So you don't have to poke a hole through your roof for a powered vent if you need to.
Okay.
All right, that sounds great. Well, Dale, best of luck to you, and Happy New Year to you. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks, you too, guys.
So many projects that you do around your house can be just so easy and so simple if you have just a little trick that makes it that way. And that's where grabbing experience from people like me and like Joe Truini can really help you out on a number of those projects you have. And we hear back from homeowners all the time that hear Joe's simple solutions and they go, man, that saved me a lot of time and it worked so well. Joe, what do you have for us today?
All right, Danny, this simple solution is timely because it's an easy and accurate way to hang a picture. And for Christmas, I sent Danny a 40 by 50 inch picture of myself that's in a beautiful frame for him to put up in the bedroom. So, Danny, pay attention. This way you can hang it. So you wake up in the morning and say, oh, this is going to be a great day.
I'm going to do that as soon as we get through, as soon as we get off the air.
Okay. So here you go. And then, by the way, if you go to todayshomeowner.com/simple solutions, you can find a video. You can search and find a video of me showing this simple solution. And here's what you do. You hold the frame against the wall exactly where you want it to hang. Then you take a pencil and draw a very small pencil line across the top center of the frame onto the wall. onto the wall. And again, I'm talking about like just a quarter inch, half inch long, light pencil mark. Now, to turn the frame around and hook your tape measure on the hanging wire and pull it tight. Then measure distance from the wire to the top of the frame. So let's say that's 3 inches. Now you just measure down 3 inches from that pencil line, tap in the nail, erase the little line if you need to, and that's it. The picture will hang exactly where you wanted it.
Oh, that makes it so much easier. I mean, all of that measuring and holding it and looking at it and all of that kind of thing can really kind of take away a lot of the fun of enhancing an interior wall by hanging that. So that's a good one. Another good simple solution, as Joe mentioned, you can go to todayshomeowner.com/simple solutions and see that one and over 500 more video versions, little 60-second pieces that you'll be surprised. I've heard so many people talking about, I just went to find the answer for one thing and I ended up solving every problem in my house. So that works out really, really well. So now it's time for our podcast question of the week. And we encourage you to send any question that you have. And you can do that very easily by going to todayshomeowner.com/podcast. This is William in Pennsylvania asked, hi, Danny and Joe. I have an upstairs bathroom fan, and I have it venting to the roof peak right now. The roof shingling has a peak vent now, or would it be better to run 12 feet or so of the tubing to vent to the gable attic vent? Well, one of the things there, first of all, whenever you have an exhaust fan of any kind, whether it's kitchen or bath, the shorter the run to the outside, the better it's going to work. So, Joe, on this particular one, he's not really saying how far it is to that peak, but I would question being able to vent something in so many of those ridge vents. He's calling it a peak vent, but I think it's a ridge vent. A lot of times that opening is really not that large. You may have a couple inches on this side, a couple inches on that side of the ridge. I'm not sure that's a big enough space to provide adequate venting. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely not. And I'm not even sure how you would vent the ductwork through the ridge vent.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't you have to just cut out the ridge vent? At the peak of the roof, it's meant to be installed on a single plane roof, not a pitched roof on each side. So I think his option would be to eliminate, if it is going for some reason going right through the peak of the roof, is eliminate that and put it next to it, so that it's on just the slope part of the roof, either preferably in the back of the house as opposed to the front of the house, if that's a shorter run. 12 feet is getting pretty long, although you won't have to poke a hole in the roof because it'd be going through the gable end, so it'll be less of a leak issue. But I think since he's already going straight up, let's assume it's a relatively short run, I would probably do that. Go straight up through the roof, just relocate it.
Right, and it's not that hard to cut through a roof. People are always hesitant to put another penetration through the roof, but if you have the right tools and the right materials, it's really not that hard. And if you're not comfortable with it, then do everything else and just have a roofer drop by. He'll charge you a service call, and he'll guarantee that it won't leak. So that might be the best way to do that. And we have all of the instructions to do that very thing on our website at todayshomeowner.com. William, thanks so much for sending that in. And again, if you'd like to send us a question to be answered here on the podcast, then send it to todayshomeowner.com/podcast. And I always like to say thank you so much. I like to read the reviews, and it's just we very much appreciate taking the time to send us a nice 5-star review in on our podcast. We're having fun providing it to you each and every week, and hope you're enjoying it and picking up a few things that you can use around your house. I'm Danny Lipford along with my buddy Joe Truini. Thanks so much for listening to this Today's Homeowner Podcast.